On Friday, we got our first roster upgrade with player transactions that included Seiya Suzuki, the Japanese phenom, coming into the game at a 75 overall silver. And while I don't talk about him too much in this video, might as well mention him while we're here. He's a name to keep an eye on, especially if he keeps up what he's doing right now. But since we got player transactions last week, there's at least a small possibility we could see roster upgrades this week that could include attribute boost. But maybe not. Maybe they'll decide to wait a few weeks. We're only about 2.5 weeks into the season. Maybe they decide to wait till the end of April to start boosting players. I figure why not come in and give our predictions of players we could see gain some upgrades and some that could get some downgrades. But like I said, this is a small portion size, so a majority of these players' stats are based off the previous couple of years and then kind of how they're doing in their first handful of starts this year. But before we get into it, two things to know. One is being, even though a player may deserve to get an attribute boost, he needs some attributes that make sense to upgrade to get him there. That's why generally DHs are a little bit hard to get attribute boost, because their offensive stats are so high and you really can't boost their defense or speed or anything. Then we gotta try to not overreact over what's happening so far this year. That's why they may wait till the end of the month to even do this. Because some of the cards I have gained downgrades, I think rightfully deserve to be downgraded. They've been terrible this year, terrible in previous years, but still, we can't overreact too much. And the last thing being is that generally with these attribute boosts, they're based off 3-year sample sizes. So it's really hard for rookies to get big time upgrades unless they kill it throughout the year. With that being said, let's hop right into it. Start with the Boston Red Sox. I got a pair of guys who I think should have been diamonds to even start the year. First one being Xander Bogaerts. He's one of the best offensive shortstops in all of baseball. Terrible on the defensive end. I believe 61 fielding's even a little too high for him. And even though batting average may be kind of obsolete to the advanced analytical guys, he's still hitting 290 this year, 295 the year before that, 300 the year before that, 306 before that. That's 4 years of elite level hitting. So his contact should definitely get at least somewhat of a boost. And he has a little bit more power than I think people give him credit for. 23 home runs last year, solid. 11 home runs in a shortened 2020 season. 33 home runs the year before that. Like, he has some pop, and I feel like his power doesn't get enough credit. So you could also see a boost to the power versus right and lefties. But this one should be a no-brainer. This is one of my almost guarantees for the next attribute boost to go diamond. That's Rafael Devers. He's one of the guys coming into the year I thought could win MVP. He's hitting an insane 368 so far to start the year. Last year he had 38 home runs and 890 OPS. 131 OPS plus, all really good numbers. And then from now on, I'm just gonna kind of discredit the 2020 season just because it was such a small sample size, but he was still really good that season. But if you go to 2019, he had 32 home runs, 361 on base percentage, 916 OPS, 132 OPS plus. How this man isn't a diamond, I don't understand. Elite level power, has good contact, and he's only 25 years old. This guy's gonna get better. Don't be surprised if he's one of the top runners in the MVP this year. Next diamond upgrade, I'm going with a guy that just got paid this offseason. That's Javier Baez. 5 games so far, very small sample size, but he's looking really good out there in Detroit. Already has a walk-off hit, a highlight defensive play, and he's helping make the Tigers fun to watch again. Once again, we don't really count 2020. He was terrible that year like a lot of really good players were. 2019, 847 OPS. And then last year, he was really bad with the Cubs, but when he got traded to the Mets, he had an 886 OPS with a 141 OPS plus. On the year, he had 31 home runs, which is elite for the position, and then an 813 OPS. You combine that to go along with the defense he provides. The big issue with him is his strikeouts. He has a lot of swing and miss to his game, but I don't think he needs much to be a diamond. You boost the fielding up even a little bit because he's elite at 4 or 5 different positions. Like, I think that should be more in the realm of 90, and then boost his power up a little bit overall. I think he could get there. I think he's deserving of it, and maybe he won't get one right away, but if he's keep doing this into May, he's definitely gonna get an upgrade at some point. A guy I don't think is gonna get an upgrade right away, but he's another one to keep an eye on, is Frankie Lindor, because I think he's getting back to his former self. When we talk about Frankie Lindor from 2016, 2019, he was arguably a top 5 player in all of baseball. And 2020 and 2021 were pretty rough for his standards. Not as extreme, but very similar to what's happened with Yelly and Belly over the years. But this year, his on-base percentage is over 440 so far, OPS is over 1,000, and he has 3 home runs in 10 games. So that's at least online to what he used to do prior to 2020. And I mean, even if he's a fraction of his former stuff, he's still an all-star caliber player, and there's a lot you can boost on the offensive side of things. Maybe not right away, but at least keep an eye on Frankie Lindor. I want to talk about another free agent that just signed, and that's Nick Castellanos. Being a Brewer fan, I've wanted this guy on my team for the past 4 years because he's an elite hitter. Terrible on the defensive side thing, but we won't worry about that. But like we have with every other player, let's take out 2020, and if you do that, he's had 3 years of a batting average of 309 or higher. His OPS has been anywhere from 930 to 1,000. 34 home runs last year. He finished 12th in MVP voting. And just by those numbers alone, you're not going to boost the fielding, you're not going to boost speed. The contact's already really high as is, maybe boost it a little bit versus righties, but the power definitely could use some boost. And last year, he was actually better versus right-handed pitching than he was left-handed pitching. Hit 310 compared to 306. Granted, much larger sample size, but he had 24 home runs versus right-handed pitching compared to 10 versus lefties. So I think both the contact and the power could get a good boost to get him to a diamond. It pisses me off because the Dodgers already have 6 diamonds on their team, but Will Smith is deserving of a diamond. I believe Will Smith is the second best catcher in all of baseball, right behind Yasmani Grandal and ahead of JT Realmuto. Yet him and JT have the exact same overall. You can make an argument against him though, because he does have reverse splits. He really doesn't play versus left-handed pitching, but he kills righties, and he at least plays majority of the time. 25 home runs last year is elite for the position. He's had at least a cup of coffee in the big leagues for 4 seasons now, and has had an OPS of at least 860 every year. Strikeout numbers aren't that bad, about 21%. So maybe we could see a boost to vision. Contact definitely deserves a boost. Like you look right here at his inside edge, he got +8 to contact, +8 to power versus righties, and he's at 86 overall. So it's not going to take a lot to get him to an 85. This would give the Dodgers a 7th diamond, but Will Smith's the second best catcher in the game. He needs to at least be an 85. And then the last 2 diamond upgrades I want to talk about reside in the Bay, and that's Carlos Rodon, who just signed with the Giants this offseason. He's arguably been the best pitcher in his first 2 starts this year. 12 innings pitched, he's only given up 2 runs. He leads the league in strikeouts with 21. And he also finished 5th in Cy Young voting last year. Every year prior to that, he struggled with injuries. Now that he's finally been healthy so far, he's been one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. And I think it's going to be very similar to when Robbie Ray signed with Toronto last year, that he's going to be right up there in terms of Cy Young voting right after signing his contract. But the past year and a half, he's been arguably one of the best pitchers in the league. So him and Devers are up there for 2 cards that I can almost guarantee should be a diamond. And then the last one's a reach because he's only an 80 overall, but it's Logan Webb. Logan Webb's first full season was last season, and he had a 2.72 whip. 2 starts this year, he looks even better. Him and Rodon have made a nasty combo. He has a 1.88 whip in 2 starts. Once again, it'd be a really big upgrade to get him from an 80 to an 85, but he might get a boost to around an 83 overall to start. Then NMA early June, if he's keeping this up, he'll 100% be a diamond. Now let's talk about some lesser cards that may go from a bronze to a silver or gold, whatever it may be, and we'll start out with Anthony Rizzo, now of the Yankees. I don't get why he's a silver to begin with. 344 on base percentage is still really good, which is what he had last year with a 111 OPS plus, 11% above league average. He also had 22 home runs. Like, he wasn't amazing like his former self, but he was still good enough to be an 80 overall. To start the year this year, the batting average is down, it's 212, but when you look at his 381 on base percentage, you really don't care. In an 896 OPS, he's definitely hitting for a little bit more power, already has 3 home runs, and I think that short porch in right field's gonna help him out a ton. He's not going to need much to go to a gold. Should have been one to begin with. The Astros last year made the World Series, and Framber Valdez was their guy. He was the ace of the staff, had a really good year with 3.25 ERA. FIP was a little bit higher, but that was his first full season in the rotation. Now that Verlander's back, he falls back to that number 2 role. I like where he's at, a .93 ERA in 2 starts. Doesn't give up a lot of home runs. Like right there, only a 77 home runs. Like right there, only a 75 home runs per 9. You boost that up a little bit, he could get to a goal. This one's funny because he wasn't like a top prospect or anything else, maybe a fringe major leaguer, but Ty France is one of the most underrated players I think in baseball over the past couple years. Since he got traded from the Padres Padres to the Mariners, all he's done is hit around 290 to 300 with a 360 on base, an 810 OPS, and a 128 OPS plus, 28% above league average. Last year was his first full season, and he hit 18 home runs, 73 RBI, so not insane numbers. 291 average, 368 on base, 813 OPS, 128 OPS plus. And he's doing it again this year in 10 games. He has 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, 289 average with a 400 on base, 900 OPS, and 165 OPS plus. Not light the world on fire numbers, but we're talking about from a silver to a gold. Ty France is well deserving of at least a gold card. I hate putting this man in here because I think he's a piece of shit, but Marcell OZUNA being a 74 overall is laughable. Once again, the guy's a piece of shit, and he struggled last year, but he was going through all the off-the-field stuff, the suspension, and all that shit, so he could never get hot. 2020 we don't talk about usually, but when you lead the NL in home runs, RBIs, and total bases, finishing 6th in the MVP, it's kind of hard not to. But in 2019, he had an 800 OPS, 29 home runs, and then you fast forward this year, he already has 4 home runs, 8 RBIs, 318 average, and a 985 OPS. Fact of the matter, Marcell OZUNA is a piece of shit, but he can hit a baseball. I don't necessarily want him to get boosted, but saying he's not at least a silver is just insane. This one's just kind of funny because the Mets now have Chris Bassett, Max Scherzer, and Jacob deGrom in the rotation, yet neither of them start opening day due to the injuries and other shit going on. Instead, it was Tyler Megill. And his stats last year didn't look the best, but he at least flashed some of the potential that he has and why the Mets are so high on him. And so far this year, in 10 1/3 innings, he hasn't given up a run yet. He also hasn't walked a batter yet, to go along with 11 strikeouts. He doesn't need a big boost to get to his 75 overall silver. Like, you look at his inside edge, you got a plus 13 to hits per 9, plus 13 Ks per 9, and he's an 80 overall, which would be a goal. I think he'll be around a 76 overall. I do think they'll boost the hits per 9, and then the walks per 9 to 68. He hasn't walked a guy this year, so it could get an upgrade there too to get him there. A lot of upgrades we've talked about so far, but one more I want to talk about is CJ Cron. The Rockies are kind of off to a surprise start this year. They're 6-3, and I mean, CJ Cron's played a huge role in it. He leads the league in home runs with 5, 10 RBIs, 297 average, a 117 OPS, a 197 OPS plus. Like, these are video game numbers that he's not going to keep it up all year. But last year, he had a 905 OPS with 28 home runs. We'll take out 2020. It was a shortened season, and he was hurt the entire year. 2019, 25 home runs, 780 OPS. Not the best, but 2018, 30 home runs, and 816 OPS. Fact of the matter is the guy hits for a lot of power. 77 and 80 power is not enough. I'd say he needs to at least be 85 both sides, and there'll be plenty to get him to a goal. Okay, so that's a lot of upgrades we could see, but now let's talk about some downgrades. Just remember, we are only 10 games into the season, so a lot of these might be a little premature, but also these are some players that struggled last year and slightly the year before as well. So we're not more so looking at this year compared to prior years. And the first one is going to be former MLB The Show legend, Joey Gallo. Ever since Gallo got traded to the Yankees, it's been a complete disaster. This year, he doesn't even have a home run in 10 games. When we talk about that short porch with how hard he swings, a fly ball is going to get there. He leads the league in strikeouts every single year. And if the power isn't there, which it really hasn't been since he got traded to New York, then he really provides you nothing but defense. 13 home runs in 58 games last year isn't bad, but we're talking about 100 plus power versus lefties. Joey Gallo needs to be at least a silver till he figures his shit out. Now we're gonna talk about the Franmil Reyes. I think he'll go down to a bronze, which could actually be a good thing for BR purposes. He's a really good card in BR. So I mean, shit, you get him in silver round, this could be pretty good. This year he's in 150 with no home runs. Last year he was solid, but he still strikes out way too much. But if he doesn't figure things out soon, I do think he's gonna get the downgrade to a bronze. A lot of people disagree with me. I thought this was an overpay in the offseason, but Eduardo Rodriguez just hasn't been that good over the past year plus. Like, don't get me wrong, the guy has good stuff, but he didn't pitch in 2020. 2021, he had a 4.74 ERA. Even though his fit was good, he still averaged almost 10 hits per 9. And then this year in 2 games, he's gotten roughed up, so he hasn't been nearly as effective since 2019. I think Tyler Mago, who we talked about as an upgrade, should be a higher overall than Eduardo Rodriguez, so put Mago to a silver and then Rodriguez down to a bronze. I can't see this one getting argued too much, but Dansby Swanson needs to get a downgrade. He's a 78 overall, so he'll have to go down at least 4 overalls, which could be a stretch. But last year he had 27 home runs, which is really good, but he still had a 97 OPS plus. He was below league average. And then this year, he leads the league in strikeouts, 158 average, 238 on base, no home run, so he's not even providing the power anymore. This one I could get some shit for because I am a Yadi hater, but Yadi shouldn't have been a goal to begin with. He hasn't had an OPS over 712 since 2018. His last 3 years, he hasn't got over 665 OPS. Hasn't hit over 11 home runs since 2018. On base percentage has been around 310 to 315 since 2017. And he hasn't won a Gold Glove since 2018 either. So over the past 4 seasons, he really hasn't provided much to your team. So why on earth is he a gold card over some of the other cards we've mentioned? No, this one, hands down, Yadi should be down to a silver. And just to show you that I'm not biased and a complete Cardinal hater, I think Tyler O'Neill should be a diamond at some point this year. He's doing okay to start the season, so he won't get one on Friday, or whenever the attribute boost is. But if he keeps it up, at some point he'll get the upgrade. Yadi, not so much. He needs to be downgraded bad. Once again, I have no idea if it's coming out this week, or if they're gonna wait till the end of the month so we have at least a bigger sample size. These are some cards to keep an eye out as possible upgrades and downgrades as we start getting closer to that. Let me know your predictions down in the comment section, like this video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.